Welcome back. Senior government official Nancy Charles is giving the assurance that the powers that be are doing all within their scope to close the loopholes that would allow the dreaded COVID-19 to reach St. Lucia's shores. Charles says authorities are aware of the gaps and will not stop putting their heads together to close them.
As St. Lucia continues to face the inevitable arrival of COVID-19, one of the many concerns raised surrounds a loophole that could lead to the virus reaching the nation's shores sooner than anticipated. As a precautionary measure last month, the government placed travel bans on non-nationals coming from 6 nations known to have high numbers of infected cases, including Italy, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, Republic of Korea, and of course mainland China, where it all began. It has now been revealed that even with the travel ban in effect, a loophole exists which sees persons coming from the named countries being allowed to pass through the borders as a result of them taking connecting flights. According to a reliable source, the problem exists within the process of collecting travel history, and so in the case of a person coming from China, for example, who made a number of stops before arriving in St. Lucia, the history will not necessarily reveal where said person took their first flight from. When asked about this, senior government official Nancy Charles said, "This issue is one of many. However, the powers that be are working around the clock to eliminate such matters."
What I can tell you is at the NIMAC meeting, we had all the agencies there, including the fire, including immigration, the police, and so forth. And the good thing about it is that it was an opportunity for each of those agencies to share what their concerns were and what gaps that they had identified from their perspective and their point of view in the system. They were able to articulate those gaps to the CMO and the team who was there. All of it was noted, and then the CMO indicated that these were the gaps that were identified and that they would now be working with those agencies in trying to close as much as possible those gaps. So if that was one of those gaps that was identified by the fire, I'm pretty sure the CMO would have documented that and they would be working on those gaps as much as possible.
Charles went on to urge persons, especially those within the essential services, to report any areas of concern to the Office of the Chief Medical Officer, so that said concerns could be explored and remedied.
Come forward if you have any concerns, if you have any queries, if there's any misinformation, if there's anything you do not understand. The Ministry of Health is encouraging to call the ministry, call the CMO's office and clarify. And that is because we really do not want there to be any misinformation out there. You don't want people to be spreading false or fake information. And so the Prime Minister also indicated that there's only one source of information: the Office of the CMO, the Office of the Ministry of Health. And so we want everything to be channeled through that.
To date, there are no confirmed cases of COVID-19 in St. Lucia. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
Members of the public weighed in on the narrowing proximity of new coronavirus.
I cannot decide how soon corona will reach here, but frankly speaking, I'm not too worried about it because I believe these are all signs of the time and that most of everything should be placed in God's hands and let Him handle it from there. I have no fear, to be honest. I'm just hoping by the grace of God that it doesn't reach us, and even though it reached that, there is enough to help us battle it out. But to say that I'm worried or I'm afraid, no, I'm not. Because I believe this is the devil's way of casting fear into people. I know it can come, we are not immune to it, but at the same time, I don't let it bother me too much. I believe God has it in control. Even if it does come, He'll take charge of it. I believe that much.
Regarde-moi, Jésus, pas poder après-dire. Depuis moi, ça, c'est poder après-dire pour Dieu. Ça fait vivre ici.
I don't know if they have it there. I don't know if they have it. I don't know. No.
So are you fearful?
Yeah. You have to fear. You have to fear because I walk on the street there, but I don't know what to do. When I walk in, you have to stay away from people. So I don't know. It's God that protect us. And God we have to trust. So put all your faith in God to tell God to ask God to help you for the sickness.
If it is already in Matnik, and Matnik is just one step from here, we ourselves better prepare ourselves. Or maybe it's already here and we don't know. But all we have to do is just prepare ourselves. But it's where they're going to put them if they find that here. Where are they going to put the people? What provision the population they has made for them? Or what place in store we have to put them? Because it is dangerous.
Very soon, because they're not far from us. So it might be joining soon, anytime soon. So we just have to prepare ourselves, our children, so we're not be able to get it that fast.
Nearly 6 years after the light of a young and promising teenager was brutally snuffed out, the grieving family has yet to get justice for his death and is appealing to authorities to work harder to find their loved one's killer or killers. Linus Constantine went missing in April 2014, and after a grueling 6-month wait, police confirmed in October that a mutilated body that was discovered soon after Constantine's disappearance was him. The victim's sister says it has not been an easy 6 years. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
Almost 6 years since the murder of my brother Linus C.J. Constantine, and to date, we still have no answers. It is an ongoing nightmare not knowing what really happened to him. Why? Where? How? Are these people walking amongst us? Sitting next to me on a bus? Passing me by on the street? Do they feel any sort of remorse? Do they know how much pain they have caused our family, his friends, the nation? Do they know the magnitude of their actions and how our nation lost a young man of promise? Surely anything would have been better than watching the remains of what I was told was my brother. Skull fragments, no facial tissue, no way of identifying him, an image from a horror film, except it had absolutely no movement. And mostly, it was not him. It could never be him. I could not even look at a body and know for sure. I could not say goodbye. Linus was long gone, and by what laid before me, I prayed that none of you ever have to see what my eyes saw. Till this day, I cannot accept it. This is an excerpt of a letter penned by the grieving sister of murdered teenager Linus Constantine. Mindy Chico opened up to Hot 7 News about the constant state of heartache that she and her family have faced since April 2014, when her 19-year-old brother went missing. That heartache was turned into a nightmare when coroners revealed that a mutilated corpse discovered earlier in the year was Constantine, and since then, Chico said life has never been the same.
You know, we've been blessed to still wake up every morning and have a life, but there is still the aspect of it where you're tormented with the thoughts of losing a brother, losing a son, losing someone, you know, who meant so much to us and not knowing exactly what happened to them. So whilst you continue with your life, it really is never the same, and things that you probably would have been so eager to do, you're now hesitant in terms of the places that you would go, the worry that sets in for other family members who are maybe working late, who may have to encounter difficult situations. So the torment of that is something that we now have to live with, and mostly the fact that we never had any answers. We still don't have any answers. So it's sort of a haunting feeling.
Chico said perhaps what is most disheartening is that the family has been kept in the dark by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Progress, she said, is wishful thinking.
In terms of anything related to my brother's case, since 2014, October 2014 to be exact, we've never heard anything from the police regarding that case, despite trying to follow up at times. That's a word that I really wish existed in this matter. At least it would have meant that we got some kind of answer, or we would think that they were somewhat closer to solving the case, or at least to let it be an active case. But it just seems as if nothing has happened, and progress is ideally a word that I would like to have in my vocabulary right now, but unfortunately it does not exist.
Chico said whilst the incident has pushed her already close family even closer together, it has also taken a major toll on their lifestyles.
We're always calling one another, trying to find out where the other person is, especially if that person may have had an event or they attended an event. So I would say that it's sort of become a nuisance in one way or the other, but it's something that we can no longer take for granted.
19-year-old Constantine's partially decomposed body was discovered in April 2004 at the Marisil Beach. A post-mortem revealed that Lena's died of extensive head injuries secondary to blunt force trauma. St. Lucia has over 300 cold cases that remain unsolved since the year 2000. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I'm Rochelle Gonzalez.
St. Lucia has decided to implement the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment as opposed to the Common Entrance Exam. The Exit Assessment is an initiative of CXC that has already been rolled out in 6 territories. St. Lucia's Ministry of Education and top CXC officials have been meeting with principals, teachers, parents, and students as part of the move expected to be introduced in 2021.
Over the years, there has been much debate about whether the Common Entrance Exam is the best way to go when it comes to assessment at the primary school level. Many argue that 11 years old is much too young to have your future determined during the span of one day. Chief Education Officer Fiona Meyer says this is the reason why education officials are exploring a new pathway, the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment.
The world is changing every single day. And as educators, we must be abreast. We must ensure that our teaching and learning reflects what is happening. And so the one shot, you sit at the examination table, and regardless of how it is for you that day, it is that one event in your life which is going to determine your future, unfortunately, at the age of 11. And that is something we have to give serious thought to. And that is why we're looking at the CPA.
The Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, CPA, is an assessment of the literacies required by all pupils exiting the primary school system. The focus of the assessment is on a set of literacies which are common to all primary curricula across the region and are necessary for students to achieve at higher levels of education. Carol Granston is the Deputy CEO of the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC.
The government of St. Lucia has taken the decision to offer the CPA. The first sit-in will be in 2021, and we are working with various stakeholder groups in St. Lucia to do the orientation session. So we're meeting with parents, with teachers, with students, with ministry reps, with pretty much every stakeholder group in St. Lucia so that we can do the orientation to the CPA. We think it's important that all the stakeholder groups get a chance to see what this program is about.
She highlights the key differences between the CPA and an approach like Common Entrance.
So the CPA has a very strong formative assessment component, or an internal assessment component, where we collect data over time. We do ask that the teachers provide really rich feedback to the student to help the students to do better on subsequent drafts that they prepare. So the assessment is done over time. So this is very different from your current Common Entrance, which is done at a single point in time. The CPA has a continuous assessment component. Students get a chance to demonstrate over time the critical skills that they would have developed through this program.
Registrar of Examinations Carmelita Matthews says this is an important milestone for St. Lucia after many years of complaints about the one-shot Common Entrance exam.
The CPA will give the students an opportunity to present work that they would do in class and will not be under examination conditions. And that would include things like preparing a book report, a project, portfolio, and their writing, especially with a continuous process of their writing, improving on their writing. All of that will be reflected in their portfolios. So students will be showing what they have been doing throughout their period of time in grade 5 and 6. And that will be an accumulation of grades that will go towards the CPA and score at the end.
Over the next 2 years, the CXC team will work with St. Lucian educators. A teacher training will be held in July 2020 for a week. As part of CPA, teachers will commence in September 2020, preparing students for over 2 years for the internal assessment component, with a final student assessment done by CXC in May 2022.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We'll be right back.